Hey guys, I just got back from MagicCon Las Vegas 2025. It was a really fun, really good experience. This was my second time at MagicCon. I was there last October 2024 when they had the Duskmorn release at the time. But this time, this was a very special MagicCon because this was the Final Fantasy MagicCon. And if you know anything that's going on in Magic the Gathering right now, you know that Final Fantasy is all the rage. It is really popular, really expensive, and really fun as well. So I want to share my experience at MagicCon Las Vegas 2025. I want to talk about the things that I did, what I enjoyed, the things that were not so good at the con, and then the ugliness of what I've heard of at the con or what I experienced personally. So without further ado, let's get into it. So overall, my experience at the con was really, really fun. I had a really good time. I did a couple of events. I signed up ahead of time for a two-headed giant Final Fantasy collector booster box event. So that was really awesome. It was only $500 when I paid for it. I think they charged tax. So even with tax, $550. And of course, we didn't know at the time because I bought this a long time ago, but it turned out at the time of the MagicCon that a box of Final Fantasy Collector Booster was going for around $1,200. So that was really interesting. Then I also signed up for a tarkirdragonstorm Collector Booster Box Team Trios event. Obviously, tarkirdragonstorm not as hyped or pumped up in terms of price or value, but it was fun nevertheless just to play some team trios and open collector booster packs. I just love opening collector booster packs, and if I can make an event out of it rather than just cracking them open, I'm all for that. Then we signed up for Final Fantasy team trios. It's like a sealed event using play boosters. It was like a turbo event, so there was only one round. We did that, and then just hung around and did some of the on-demand stuff, which I had never done, which I didn't do the last time, but I found out about it, and that was really interesting. So, you know, that was all of the events were really fun. I found that there's something for everyone there, whether you like to play Commander, whether you're just there for the vibes, you want to go get your cards signed. They had tattoo artists. You want to buy playmats, you want to buy merch, you want to go to the vendors and buy singles, or you want to sell your cards to the vendors. Beckett was there, so if you wanted to grade stuff that you opened. They also had stages where you could watch the announcements for the sets coming out next year, Edge of Eternities. They also had live game nights, the Commander stuff. Pro Tour was there, so you could go watch the Pro Tour. And they just had a bunch of things. So if you wanted to draft, if you were there for Commander, if you were there just to buy, sell, if you're really competitive, right? They had the multiple PTQs. And of course, if you're there for the Pro Tour, you could do all of that or none of it at all. And plus, you're in Vegas, so you've got everything else that Vegas has to offer. If you gamble, a lot of great food, a lot of shows, just everything that you can do in Vegas. So that was really cool, really awesome. It was the first time I experienced the Tesla loop, which runs under the convention center. It does go to the Encore Hotel and Resort World, and I think it goes to a couple of other places. But first time I tried that was a very good experience. It was, the price was reasonable. I thought it was really efficient. It went quickly. And then it was just really convenient because it goes right from the convention center to where you want to go. And then we went to Resort World to eat at the food court because, oh my God, I'm about to get to it. But one of the worst things at the con is the food. So you can take the loop, go to the casino, go to the food court or any of the restaurants there, have some drinks, eat some food, enjoy the time there, and then you can come right back to the con. And of course, if you're staying at either one of those casinos, then you can just travel back and forth really conveniently through that way. The artists, I didn't get any of the cards signed. I have my friend Jared. He really enjoyed that. He had a bunch of cards signed. I'll show you a photo of all of the cards he got signed. But that's a very popular thing. There's long lines for certain popular artists, and you can meet them and you can have your cards signed for them. Then they do like a really nice signature. Sometimes some of them use like two markers or pens, and it'll make it golden or shiny or rainbow, or there's special effects. There was even a black light one, so that was really cool. And then we just, you can play Commander. You can just sit down at a casual random table, just ask anybody, play Commander with them, or you can sign up. They have some Commander events. They also have like really interesting mystery booster events, or events that's hosted by like the Gavin Verhey and also the professor and things like that. They have a lot of meet and greets. You can meet some content creators or other personalities in the Magic the Gathering space. So all of that, really awesome. Had a good time. And it goes by really fast because like the con opens at 10 a.m. and I think it closes around 10 p.m. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of time, 12 hours. But if you think about it, if you do one draft event or sealed or any of those events, that's like 4 to 5 hours. And so it's only open for 12 hours. You can do like 2 or 3 events and it's over. So, even if you play a Commander game, my Commander games, and I don't play too much Commander, but the Commander games I play, they usually take over about an hour or more. So you don't really, time flies really quickly, especially when you're having fun. There are a lot of long lines. So I want to move on to the bad of the con, and the lines is the first thing. So you got the 12 hours and you have all the things you want to do, but you also have a lot of lines, long ones that will eat up a lot of your time as well. So we waited about about an hour in the line to purchase vouchers. So you have to use vouchers to participate in on-demand events, whether that's on-demand Commander events. They have on-demand drafts, on-demand competitive drafts, things like that. So the line to purchase that was about an hour. And then we also wanted to check out the store. They have some merch. They also have, you can buy products. One of the popular things people wanted to buy was Final Fantasy products. So you could buy Final Fantasy play boosters. You can buy the collector boosters even. And I heard, I can't confirm this because I never actually got to the front of this line before it sold out, but I heard that they were selling collector booster packs at MSRP. I don't know if there was a limit or what the details are, but MSRP I believe is around $40-something a pack before tax, or $50 a pack before tax. So we waited in the line. We waited about, I think, almost 2 hours, and we were about to get to the front of the line, and they told everybody that all of the Final Fantasy products, were sold out. And not only the Final Fantasy products, but anything else we wanted, which included Festival in a Box Las Vegas. We were also hoping to see if we could get that other secret lair, the one with the dragons. All of that sold out, and nothing was left. Nothing good was left, and we ended up just leaving the line after wasting 2 hours in that line. And anytime we went by the line or went back the following days, the line was just as long. It looked like it was going to take about 2 hours, and we just didn't even bother, and we figured anything we want would already be sold out. And then the food. So the food at the con is terrible. It's horrendous. I think it was almost $20 for a tiny single person pizza. And the pizza, I didn't try it. My friend tried it, and he said it tasted like the worst pizza he's ever had. It was like a cardboard frozen pizza you get at the grocery store. And in fact, the ones you get at the grocery store that are frozen are probably even better. So really expensive, really, really, really bad food. I think they were selling like a grocery store cold turkey sandwich for like $17. It was just those prepackaged turkey sandwiches for $17. I bought a hamburger. It was like a small hamburger with fries that had been like sitting out for all day, and that cost me $20. And like a soda there cost $7. So it was really, really bad. I would recommend you eat a big breakfast outside of the con, bring some snacks, bring your own food if you have time. It was difficult for me to leave the con in the middle of the day because either I'm in an event or I just want to keep doing stuff and having fun, and taking the time to go eat would have taken another like 2+ hours. If we left the convention, you had to get an Uber or you have to just travel to wherever. So really, most of the days I didn't even really eat lunch. I did have like some granola bars, some snacks, some chips, things like that. I did eat a burger one day, but highly regretted it. So that is something we need to all figure out what to do about food. And then finally, another thing that was really bad is I found that there were inconsistent rules amongst judges for how they're running their events and stuff like that. So I had a group of friends. They were lucky enough on the first day on Friday to purchase 8 competitive Final Fantasy vouchers for a competitive draft. Now, let me tell you about this competitive Final Fantasy draft. I didn't know this going into the con, but there was an event. It was an on-demand event. It cost $100, and they only allowed each person to buy one per day. Now, I'm going to get to the ugly, and there were ways to get around this and stuff, but essentially the rule was one competitive voucher per person per day, and there was a limited amount for the Final Fantasy one. Don't know the exact number. We heard, sorry, my dog is barking. Don't know the exact number, but we heard maybe around 30 to 60 pods of 8 per day. So my friends were able to get 8 of them. There were eight friends. They were trying to get into a pod of the Final Fantasy competitive together so they could guarantee the prizing and then just split it amongst themselves. Now, the prizing was first place, so it's single elimination. First place gets 2 Final Fantasy collector boxes, right? Remember, at the time at the con, they were going for around $1,200 each, and you would get 2 of them for first place. And then second place gets 1 Final Fantasy collector booster box. So total of 3 collector booster boxes, and it's $100 entrance. And then that was really interesting because essentially that was such a good value. There are 8 players only. Everybody pays $100. So Wizards of the Coast at the event, they were getting $800 and giving out 3 Final Fantasy collector boxes. Total value of that was around $3,600. And so as you can see, this is a incredible return on your $100 if you could do well and get first or second. And so this was a really, really popular event. So what happened is my friend said that they read the fine print, they read the rules, and it just said that once you have 8 players, you'll get into a pod and play. But so they bought their tickets, they tried to do that, and the judge or whoever was running the event said that's not allowed. They couldn't do that they would get shuffled around, mixed up, so that they couldn't play with their friends. I guess the idea is that so that people couldn't cheat the system and do what they were trying to do, but it didn't really make sense to me because Wizards was going to get the same amount of money anyway. No matter what, they're only going to get $800 for that pot of 8, and they're going to give out the exact same prizing no matter what. I guess they were trying to prevent people from helping each other, coordinating, colluding in the draft so that friends would have a higher chance of winning or placing and winning the boxes over other random people. Now that, I kind of I do understand that, but if it's a pot of 8 friends and they all agree, that doesn't matter then. I guess it could mess up other pods, but here's the kicker. So they didn't let them do that. And my friend's like, okay, well, we don't feel confident enough to make first or second place in a competitive draft. So they wanted to get a refund on their ticket. And then they were very strict about not refunding those vouchers, which was strange because there were thousands of people who would want those vouchers. So they they allowed my friends to sell the vouchers to other people, which is really, really weird because that would lead to scalping of those vouchers, which are very valuable. And as the days went on, it became really hard and nearly impossible to get those vouchers. So they didn't let them refund it. They did allow them to sell it. I was lucky enough. I bought one voucher off of them for $100, and then I went in to compete, and they sold 7 others or 6 others, and that happened. But so here the kicker is that once I bought that voucher and I went to join the queue, I sat down at the table to play in the competitive draft. Well, they just took the first 8 people that showed up. They didn't shuffle us around to any other pods because there weren't 2 pods waiting. They didn't set up 2 pods and then randomly assign people to those pods. All they did was just once the first 8 that showed up, all right, we're gonna fire this 8-person competitive draft, and there you go. So had my friends not let them know that they were a group of 8 and wanted to do that, they probably wouldn't have even known or cared, and they just would have let them do that. Of course, there could have been other people waiting, so then they would just take like the first 6 or however many to fill up that pod and go. So that probably would have been the case. But like, I don't understand. Their reasoning was they're gonna shuffle people around, but that wasn't true. And when I did another competitive draft on Sunday, it was not Final Fantasy because it was literally impossible to get those vouchers anymore once people found out. On Sunday, I did the Tarkir version, which the value was not nearly as good because they charged you the same price, $100 for the ticket, and the prize was the same except that it was not Final Fantasy product. It was TarkirDragonstorm collector boxes, which of course are worth 4 times less than the Final Fantasy ones. But I did that on the 3rd day on Sunday, and I went in with 2 other friends. We didn't get split up. They don't even randomly assign the seat where you sit for the draft. So because we had participated in that before, we knew that we could sit however we want, and that would be our spot for the draft. So we sat in a specific way, and same with others. People already knew this. We also knew how they were going to assign the brackets for the competitive draft. So we knew that we had to sit one spot away from each other so that we didn't get matched up against each other, at least in the first round. And so there were a lot of ways to game the system. There are probably more ways that we figured out, but it was not well run. And while for Tarkir Dragonstorm, it didn't matter that much because there wasn't that much demand for it, since it's not Final Fantasy. But there were a lot of loopholes, and I'm sure a lot of stuff happened with Final Fantasy. So I want to just move on to the final thing and talk about the ugliness of the MagicCon. Now, I want to preface this by saying I did not experience all of this. And I'll tell you what I did experience and what I didn't. But the things that I didn't experience, I heard about either through Reddit or other people, and I can definitely see this happening very easily. So the first thing I want to talk about is the fact that you can't buy anything, like anything good. You just can't get it. So this is not uncommon, right? When a product is so popular like Final Fantasy is, and you see this in the Pokemon world, and I'm sure you've been seeing it in Final Fantasy. Like, you can't get any product. You can't get play boosters. You can't get bundles. You can't get collector boosters, especially. You can't get any events where the prize is Final Fantasy either. So on Friday, there was the possibility, like, it was easier to do that because most of the hardcore Magic competitors or whatever, they were in the Pro Tour, or they were doing Pro Tour qualifiers, big tournaments like that. So Friday, I would say, was mostly the casual crowd, and everybody else was like locked into their events. Even Saturday, because I think for the Pro Tour qualifier, the sealed, they ran like a second one on Saturday. So fewer people, but still a large amount of people were also locked in and doing that event on Saturday. And then on Sunday, most people who were those type of serious competitors, they were likely done with their events, except for very few who were going to day 3 or whatever on Sunday. So Sunday, there, everybody was at the con. Fewer people, fewer casual people, because a lot of people would also leave on Sunday. But you couldn't get anything because they had the legendary Black Lotus VIP ticket thing, right? I think it was like $1,000 per ticket, or maybe a little more, and they allow those people to go there on Thursday night, so the day before the con, and they can go to the shop and buy whatever. And I think they also get like a 10% discount at the shop. Well, they also allow those people to get into the convention center an hour earlier or 30 minutes earlier. So while everybody is waiting, right, you go to the convention. It opens at 10 a.m. for everybody else other than those Black Lotus legendary VIP people. And you line up. And it depends on what time you line up. People start lining up hours before 10 a.m. so that they can get in earlier. But it doesn't really matter too much, because I don't know how many Black Lotus VIP people there are, but hundreds, if not 1,000 or so people are already inside, because they have that, and they are already in line for whatever you want to buy. Like, they're already in line for the store, or they're in line to buy the vouchers. There was also some merch that was like worth a lot of money. I think they were selling the Final Fantasy, like Cloud and Sephiroth Ultra Pro foiled playmats for like $75. I haven't confirmed this, but I heard that those are going for like 400 plus on the secondary market. I tried to get one for myself. I thought it looked really cool, but it was impossible. So that's the ugly, is scalpers. I don't even know if they're called scalpers or what you want to call them, but people going in, buying up anything that was worth anything, and then nothing remains, nothing's left for anybody else. And that's really just like what's going on with Pokemon and Final Fantasy, right? Like, you can't get any product at a reasonable price. You have to go to the secondary market because people are going in and buying them at like MSRP and stuff like that. And we can't even, and at MagicCon, you can't even participate in any of the good events because they've already bought all the vouchers or whatever. So you can't get anything if you're not Black Lotus VIP. I think it's possible for maybe like the first 100 or 200 people who waited in line before the con opened, but you really have to get there. Opens at, you probably have to get there like 2.5 or 3 hours. You have to line up 2.5 or 3 hours before, because on the third day, so on the second day, the con opens at 10. On the second day, we got there at around 9:40 a.m. to line up. We were like row 17 of like the line that where they allowed you to go in. 17, and each row I estimated about, I don't know, 300 people, 200 people or so. So that's like, there were like 3,000 people in front of us in line. And by the time we got in, there were like 2-hour lines for everything, and everything was sold out. So I was like, okay, on the third day, on Sunday, let's go and line up really early, or what I thought was really early. So we went to line up at around 8:20 a.m., over an hour and a half before con opened. And we were on the third row of the line. So maybe 500-600 people, no, maybe just 400 or 500 people before us. But of course, don't forget, all of the hundreds or potentially 1,000 legendary Black Lotus VIP people were already in even before the others, right? So you're even if you go at like 8:20 and you're in the third row of the line, there's still 2,000 people or whatever, 1,000 people in there before you, and yet again couldn't get anything. Everything was sold out. Lines were very long. So you probably have to line up at least 2 hours before the con opens if you're not Black Lotus VIP. You good luck getting anything. That was really ugly. Now, I heard about somebody made a really long Reddit post complaining about similar things. And one of the things was they were saying that there was bribery. Now, I did not witness any bribery going on, but I can definitely see how that is very possible. So, for example, I can see that if you know one of the workers, or if you were able to somehow bribe them, I think many of them are probably not that loyal, not that, to the company or whatever. So if you were able to bribe them, they would slip you or, get you in the front of the line or something. So here's an example that happened to me. Now, on day one, on day two, I waited like an hour to try to buy this competitive Final Fantasy voucher. It sold out before I got in there, but I wanted to ask them a question or something. And so I went up to one of the workers who was working near the front of the line, and I don't know what rank or what his position was. He seemed a little older. He was wearing a different color shirt, like a black shirt. So perhaps he had a little more authority, but he was like, he didn't have the answer to my question, and I can't remember my question now, but he didn't have the answer, but he let me cut the line to ask my question. So I got in front of maybe 300 people. He just opened the line thing for me. I got in front into the line. There were maybe just 10 people in front of me, and so I could go ask the question. Now, I didn't buy anything, and because it was already sold out at that point, but I could see something like that happening. And then, you get to the front of the line, and you're just like, oh, hey, I'll take this voucher or whatever, and you just buy it and just cut like 300 people. So I can see like you could cut these long lines one way or another. When we were submitting our tickets to get product at one point, some of the people who were working there, and I'm sure they're supposed to like carefully count out how many tickets and then align to the product. Now, what happened was on the very last day, and it was in the afternoon, so the people started rushing the ticket place because it was about to close, and this was the last day of the convention, and the line was really, really long. So they were really busy and everything like that, and there were hundreds, if not thousands, of people in line trying to get product, and they were trying to move everyone really fast, everyone through really quickly. Now, some of the workers, they were, I'm sure they were tired. They've been working all day. This was like 6 p.m. on Sunday on the third day. And then there was, 1,000 more people in line waiting, and they're getting pressured to just move this along. We got to go home. So they didn't even check our tickets, and we submitted a lot. Like, I think we pulled our tickets together, and we wanted to get a play box of Final Fantasy. So it was a stack of the tickets. But he didn't check. So it was, we didn't, but I can see it being possible where you turn in much less than what is actually required, and you get the product for much less, or you have a big stack, they don't check, and then you just say, hey, I want multiple boxes or something like that. I don't know. I can see things like that happening. And then there were promos. So the promos for like the more competitive events, they were giving out this Tifa promo, and if you qualified higher, you get the full version, and you can get multiple of them. And I heard it's being sold for like $3,000 or $6,000 each, or some ridiculous price. Well, when there's that much money involved, obviously this I didn't even hear of happening, but I can just see a possibility where you like bribe someone, or you get some connection or whatever. And, I'm sure these workers or the judges or whoever, they have a huge box full of thousands of these cards, and they just take a couple and then give you some, and they're worth like $6,000 each or $3,000 each or something ridiculous like that. So I can see things like that happen with the promos. I don't know. So yes, I'm sure things like that did happen. I'm sure it can happen. And when this much money and greed is involved, it will happen. And then the last thing I want to talk about, the ugliness, is theft. This did not happen to me or anyone I knew, but obviously theft is, I heard it did happen. We were approached by a security worker. I think they were a security guard for the convention center, and they told us to be careful and watch our bags, as our bags were just on the table next to us, but we weren't really paying full attention to it. And they were telling us, be careful, watch your bags, because people have been stealing bags. And if you go on Reddit and things like that, you'll see certain people saying like, oh, I lost this, I lost that. I think somebody said that I lost something. I went to the Lost and Found. I was notified that it was at Lost and Found. I went to the Lost and Found, but then somebody else had already claimed it. So a lot of theft, not a lot of theft, but theft did occur. And that's just what happened. There's tens of thousands of people. It's really hard to keep track, but you got to be careful with everything like that. So overall, it was fun. It was frustrating, but it was really good. It was a really good time. It did outweigh all of the bad stuff. I feel for anybody who lost their stuff or weren't able to participate in the events they wanted to. I think for next time when I go, because I will go back, I will consider, if I can even get it, buying the Black Lotus VIP. If that's something you can afford, I would consider that. It just gives you so much of an advantage and so much more peace of mind in terms of just being able to get stuff you want, enter into the events that you want, things like that. And so I would consider that. I would probably do more of on-demand events because I don't like being locked into pre-scheduled events and then, I want to do this or do something else, and I can't because I already paid to do those other events. So I didn't like that too much. And then otherwise, if I don't get the Black Lotus VIP, I think you should probably try to get in line at least 2 hours before the convention opens. Otherwise, everything will be sold out. But of course, don't forget, this was Final Fantasy. It's an anomaly. Nothing about Final Fantasy is regular for how Magic the Gathering products work, prices, and even the people. So it's really Wild West for Final Fantasy. I think next May, the MagicCon Las Vegas, I think it's gonna align with Strixhaven, the Strixhaven set. Obviously, not Universe Beyond, so it's not. I don't think it's gonna be that as wild as it was this year. Who knows though? Magic is definitely growing. And one more thing I just remembered. So apparently, if you bought depending on what entrance ticket you bought, one of the swag or merchandise you get is Final Fantasy Collector booster packs, right? And given that a booster box at the time was like around $1,200, the packs were close to $100 each. Now I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but for the premium day passes, I think they were about $70 or $80 each, and you get 2 collector packs each. So I bought 3 premium days and I got 6 collector packs. But I think the website or the convention, they allow each person to buy like 4 or 5 per day. So I heard people were buying, let's say it was 4. So they would buy 4 premium per day for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It was just one person. And right, so you buy for like $70, $80, but you get 2 collector packs, which is $200, and you also get like some other promo. And so I heard like multiple people were just buying all of that out. So, and then what ends up happening is they'll go and they'll collect like 40 collector packs because it's worth way more money. And then obviously somebody else doesn't get to buy it because they eventually sell out of that stuff. So that was also happening. I don't think it's going to be like in any other convention where it's not Final Fantasy or not another set like Final Fantasy. It probably wouldn't be worth it because collector packs for like a regular set are like somewhere around $20 to $30 a pack. And so you're not getting more value for what you pay. But in Final Fantasy, you were. All right, well, let me know if you went to MagicCon. What was your experience like? We're gonna do a mega podcast episode recording tomorrow with some of the people I went to con with, and we're just gonna talk about the experience. I'm also gonna make another video about the financial impact, on the MTG Finance, the impact on MTG Finance from the con, what I witnessed, what I learned, because I think that there are a lot of financial implications from the con I want to discuss in my next video. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you later.